I was so focused on just getting through the day and delivering what was expected from me today that I totally missed out to see how today's work impacts tomorrow's work. And we're gonna elaborate on what that means, but not gonna lie, I still, to this day, find myself doing this almost a decade into my career. So what we're going to talk about in this video is not only a very important tip for those of you who are in those earlier days, who maybe have not even started your careers yet, but it's also a good reminder, a little nudge for anyone who is in the same boat as myself, who has been working for some time now, but still needs this reminder because we do often forget this. So let us elaborate. In the heat of things and as things unroll as you work, it's natural that you focus on that moment. Your focus is getting up and getting shit done and getting through that day. You hop from one task to another and you either stop when your workday is over or you get exhausted. And while you're doing this, you are only focused on today and that moment. And don't get me wrong, like being in the present, being in the moment is relevant and important in some cases, like when you are, having a dinner with your partner or meditating or reading a book. But when it's in a work or career context, you need a long-term outlook. I assume that you won't be staying in the same job and the same company that you currently work with today for the rest of your life. And I'm thinking that's a pretty realistic assumption. And so while you excel at your current job and current career, you need to be thinking about your next moves and collecting the input that is going to help you get there. You always have to be thinking far ahead, and this doesn't mean that you have to be unhappy or unsettled in your current job. It just means that for whatever comes in your life, you're just going to be prepared. Which now brings me to the biggest tip that I would give to my younger self, the poor little 21-year-old Elif who was just stepping into her life in the professional world. And I'm going to divide it into two pieces. Number one is collecting social proof and recommendations, and number two is collecting success metrics and looking at things from an impact angle. And now I'm going to elaborate on both of those things. So let's go back to number one, collecting social proof and recommendations. I suggest that you create a folder on your desktop right away that entitle it social proof / recommendations, or however you want to call it, and start collecting anything your boss or colleagues say about working with you. Maybe it's the time of the year when you're doing feedbacks for each other. You're going through your OKRs and everyone is giving each other reviews. Take note of those positive reviews or those constructive reviews that people have given you on your team, and either work on them or either record them as screenshots, or maybe take notes in a file and start recording what people are saying about your work and how it is to work with you as a teammate. Under this category, put anything that is similar to testimonials. You don't have to be working in a company. Maybe you're working as a freelancer with some clients, or you're doing some volunteer work. Any kind of testimonials, any kind of referrals, any recommendation notes, any review feedback notes, start collecting all of those, because as you progress in your career, you're gonna realize very naturally that you don't have that good of a memory and you don't actually remember the things that people have told you back in the day, like 10 years ago. I don't remember what my boss told me, and I'm sure she said some good things about me, but I don't recall any of that anymore. So this is a way to keep track of everything that has been shared about you and that could stand as a social proof when you are creating any type of document about yourself, whether that is a resume, a cover letter, a pitch deck about yourself, a bio for LinkedIn, whatever it may be. You're going to realize that all of these notes that you've taken from very early days in your career, they're going to be extremely helpful. One more tiny thing to add here is that if your teammates are on LinkedIn, then ask for LinkedIn recommendations as well, and it's quite easy to do that. You can just send them the direct URL that they can drop their notes in there. Or, if they've already given you feedback or some review through an email maybe, or through reviewing your work, then you can just be proactive and ask them, would they mind sharing this as a LinkedIn recommendation as well? And they don't even have to change a word. They can just directly copy and paste what they've already said about you and put that on LinkedIn. And that's going to start strengthening your profile, your file, as someone who is maybe later on going to apply for new jobs, or I don't know, go and pitch something to investors. And the second piece of this very important tip that we are talking about in this video is the collection of success metrics and looking at things, looking at your work from an impact angle. Here's what this means. So I want you to maybe start a notes or a Google Docs to start recording things that you are doing in your work. And this isn't like a summary of your work, but it's more so looking at things from a numbers perspective. So let's talk about like deliverables. So if you're a marketer, if you're doing social media, for example, how many content pieces have you written in a certain month, and are you proud of that? Has there been any content that maybe went viral, or maybe that had really good results? Record those results. Like maybe you sent out an email as part of an email marketing campaign and it had a very high open rate. You did an A/B test and you found out about, making a certain change in the subject lines, delivered X% of increase when it came to open rate results. So I want you to think about all of these success metrics, not only success, but like just deliverables and success metrics, I guess, when you are thinking about your work, and start making notes of these, because I assure you, you are gonna forget how many social posts you created, how many blog posts you created for a certain company at a certain point in your life, and what the analytics or what the metrics were for the work that you delivered back in the day. That's exactly where I stand right now. I can't remember the successful campaigns that I've delivered, the number of clients I worked with. It's very difficult to kind of just, refresh your memory and bring up those numbers. So instead of doing that hard work of trying to remember and probably getting the wrong numbers, I would really encourage you to start taking notes as you do the work. And that's the healthiest way that you can actually record the best type of numbers. Now let's circle back to why this is so important for your career, for you to have a much more successful career. Number one, when you start recording the social proof and the success metrics, you're gonna start realizing some trends. You're gonna start to have better reflections about your work, and maybe think about, what you enjoyed doing, what you didn't enjoy doing, where you were successful, what were your findings, how can you take that and put that into a different type of work. And the other piece is, whenever you need to create any type of document about yourself, any type of pitch, whether that's verbal or written or through video, audio, whatever, you're gonna need to remember those numbers and bring those up, because those are what make a resume a very successful resume. That's how we started the video. Remember, we started by writing impact statements, or we just kind of had a B-roll about that. And that is exactly what you're expected to write in your resumes and on your cover letters too. And once you have a collection of these numbers, maybe like record them by date and by job title and by company, and or like quarters, however you prefer, however is logical to you, but make records, like detailed records of the dates and the work that you've done and the results. And so when it comes to creating a resume, it's just a matter of taking those numbers from that collection of recordings and plugging them into an impact statement, and then plugging that impact statement right onto your resume. So it makes your life 100 times easier, and I promise I'm not exaggerating. And this is exactly what I'm now trying to do as well with my work. So I try to make notes of what I'm working on, the quantifiable things that are relevant about my work, and then the results of my work. And now let's wrap up. The actionable thing that I want you to take away from this video is, number one, to create a social proof / testimonials folder on your desktop or in your Notion or Google Docs, wherever you prefer to take notes and recordings. Take screenshots, copy and paste the testimonials, copy and paste the referrals, anything, ask for LinkedIn referrals, and do all of that. Number two, create another document call it success metrics, call it work, whatever, and start recording what you're working on, what the results are, and what your learnings are from that. Very short, brief sentences. And then come thank me in a couple of months or a couple of years when this all is super, super helpful to excel at your career and be so much more successful with whatever you do. Wishing you all the best with your career. Hope this video was helpful. If it was, you know what to do, but I'll just remind you once again, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more tips like this one. Next week, we have a very interesting video coming up as well. And if you're subscribed, you're gonna get notified about that. So thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.